Yes, thank you.
Chair,
Yeah.
I will have to duck out at 5. I'm just here to be hanging out with you guys until then.
Excellent.
Should take that long.
Yeah, we'll be done by then.
Recording in progress.
There we go. That's what we were looking for. Okay, I'll call this Catholic Regional District Planning Committee meeting to order for Wednesday, April 30th. End of the month already. First, I'd like to acknowledge we are holding the meeting on the traditional territory of the Tla'amin Nation, where you are, and other nations where I am in Crofton, BC. So our first order of business is approval of the agenda. Do I have a mover for that? Director Gisborne, Director McCormick, second. Thank you. Any questions, points? All those in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Unanimously. Next is adoption of the minutes. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, do I have a mover? Director Brander, Director Gisborne, seconding. Any questions, comments, etc.? Hearing none, all those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. So we do have an unregistered delegation. I'm just checking the chat to see the name here. So I think it's Mary Lou McMillan. Hi, Mary Lou.
Thank you, Chair. I believe we have 2 unregistered delegations. The first one will be Mary Lou, and then the second one will be the proponents for the subdivision.
Okay, great. And if you're not aware, normally we give up to 10 minutes for your presentation, and then we have questions available to directors. So introduce yourself and proceed.
Okay, my name is Mary Lou McMillan. I'm a resident of Area C, and first off, I'd like to say thank you to you for the work you do in our community, and thanks for listening to me today. I've lived in Area C for over 50 years. Where I live is borders District Lot 1480, and so I would like to speak to that today. I have to say, that is my neighborhood. I've wandered the trails, I've walked the beaches. My children have, and now my grandchildren do. And I love the area. And I have a kind of an intimate connection with it because I've lived there for so long. And I would just like to say that I feel that the dedication of parkland due to the subdivision is one that I would like to encourage the regional district to adhere to rather than cash in lieu, because I feel that public access to wild places is becoming rarer and more rare as development happens. And I'm at the age now when I'm definitely not thinking too much about myself, but I am thinking about the next generation and the generation after that. So I think that little slice there of the park, the trail around the flanking the creek, going up Wilson Creek, is something that I feel like the regional district should include in the plan. It does say in the OCP that it should be designated as parkland rather than cash and lieu. So I feel that, you know, that little stretch there along the creek is, you know, could actually connect to a longer trail system if there ever was the desire to want to do that, all the way up to Duck Lake. And it's such a beautiful creek, and it's our salmon, you know, salmon creek that we all love. And I just feel like, you know, I mean, eventually maybe a lot of that forest will be gone. There will be a lot of development there. But if there's a little place where the public can still go, school kids like to go to the salmon hatchery, they can still use that, you know, a little bit of a corridor to go up there. I feel it's worth it. So thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for your expressing your feelings there, and it's nice to hear from somebody that lives right there. So now we'll open it up to the directors. I'll look for hands here to see if anybody has any specific questions for you. I mean, pretty straightforward. So I think it's nice. Like I said, don't take offense with no questions. I think your message was loud and clear, and we appreciate you coming before us.
Okay, thanks very much. Oh, just one little add-on. My husband and I worked on this OCP back in 2012. So
so you know your stuff.
Yes, yes, yeah. I want to see it used.
Awesome. Nice to see the younger generation there too participating. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Okay, and I checking my notes. I see we have another delegation. I asked Mr. Rogers and Mr. Aegis if they'd like to come before us again there. I think you know the terms of the rules of order here, so I'll let you proceed.
No worries. I have to get registering as a delegation sorted. It seems like half the time I'm registered and half I'm not, and I'm not quite familiar with what I did right the first time or what I did wrong the second time. Anyway, we'll get that sorted. So the purpose of us being here today is, well, you're going to find it rare, but we're making a request for the two applications to be tabled.
Okay.
There's a couple of reasons for this that I'll discuss. But first, I think it's worth mentioning that it's unfortunate that we got to this point. The concepts that we're talking about, concepts themselves have been in front of government for about 2 years for discussion. And about a year formally as an application. And now at this point in the PLR, or in getting to PLR, we're talking about things that could have been discussed or dealt with a couple of years ago. So for me to be coming and saying, we want to table something, we want to delay it, that's pretty rare. I hope it's the last, yeah, I hope it's the last time. So why are we asking, or why are we making the request? Well, there's two reasons. The first reason has to do with the questions that were raised regarding, let me see, I got my numbers messed up. Section 478 of the Local Government Act that still aren't answered. The report that we have, the current report that we have, or two reports that we have an option. One of the options is that cash can be taken in lieu of part arbitrarily. And again, we talked about section 478 of the Local Government Act, as well as 510 that deals with how parkland or the decisions between park and cash are dealt with. And we still don't see how that option to arbitrarily say no land when the OCP is clear about the areas adjacent to Land Creek. We're just not there yet in understanding the procedural fairness nor the legalities of that cash being taken instead of land as being an option. In addition to section 478 of the Local Government Act, there's a publication that the province put out entitled Parkland Acquisition Best Practices Guide. This is a provincial publication that provides local government and landowners with some guidance on how to apply, basically how to apply section 510 of the Local Government Act, or how to make decisions about cash or park and the evaluations of those. And it's interesting under subsection 3.2 that speaks to cash or land versus cash in lieu. The recommended best practice, I'll read it. In general, landowners should expect to provide or dedicate in locations where a park has been identified in the neighborhood plan or referenced in other land use planning documents, or where future park locations are not identified or referenced in planning documents and development applications, it is reasonable for owners to expect to contribute cash in lieu. Of these two scenarios, we're definitely in the first. We have an OCP that clearly identifies lands adjacent to Land Creek as park. We have documents that speak to access at Mahood as well. And the concept that has been presented is consistent with the OCP and other documentation. So to have an option in the report that says, no, that can all be ignored, cash in lieu, there's questions. So we have sought legal advice. We're waiting on that. Apparently, legal advice has been sought on behalf of the regional district. I asked for that to be shared, but that wasn't shared. The reasoning behind that was the client solicitor privilege, which raises another question. That's a one-way obligation. That's from the solicitor to the client. If the client chooses not to divulge that, that's a whole other thing. But the client has no obligation to the solicitor for not sharing that, unless there's some sort of previous agreement made. So there's some questions about that as well. So because of these questions, as well as my client needing more time, and the reason my client needs more time is the options that we're having to entertain now have diverged to a point where design is affected, different parties are affected. In order to sort out how we can work with those and whether they're actually feasible, we need some time. So for these two reasons, because of the questions that still exist about the procedural fairness and the time that's needed to get to a solution that's equitable for everyone, we're requesting that the two applications be tabled. Now, don't get us wrong. What we want at the end of the day is something that works for everyone, for all the stakeholders. It has to be feasible, has to be workable. It also has to be fair. So for this reason, we're requesting it to be tabled.
All right. Well, thanks, Mr. Rogers. I appreciate your clarity in identifying sort of all those points for us. We're going to take a few questions. I see Director Gisborne's hand.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
I've been giving this application a lot of thought, and because there have been applications in Area B in the past where land was offered and we were told, oh, well, you know, it's not in the official community plan, so we turned down the application or the offer of land, which some folks found surprising. this application specifically is identified in the OCP as parkland. And as I understand, the applicant, which is yourself and your client, is offering parkland. So if we were to go with accepting the parkland, you still want that to be tabled or postponed, find out more information, or is it more of the route of taking cash in lieu of parkland, the decision that could be tabled until we find out more information? Because myself, this is one of the reasons why I was in favor of sending it back to staff, was I was like, oh, I like land more than cash. Because what is it? What's that guy? He said they're not making any more land.
I don't know. I've heard the quote, but I have no idea who made it. I probably should know.
So maybe to the question, Mr. Rogers, I think we're all wondering tabling versus rescinding. You're not rescinding your motion or your proposal. You just like it tabled for some more time.
Tabled for more time. You're correct. Yeah.
But that's table for more time if we want to go the route or are interested in going the route in cash in lieu. But if we were to instead say, well, no, we would actually like to go with accepting the parkland, would you still want us to postpone or to also table?
There's been enough. There's been enough options presented out there that, yeah, we do want to consider them. We don't want to push anything down, but we don't want to push anything down anyone's throat. But at the same time, we want the options or the negotiations to take place in an equitable way or in a fair way or a just way.
Collaborative approach.
Yeah, and that's what we're after. We're just not on the same page yet. We'll get there. We have to get there. We want to get there, but we're not quite on the same page yet.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions from the directors? Like I said, Mr. Rogers, very straightforward and clear presentation. Oh, I see Director Elliott.
So just so you know, I'm not on the planning committee. I get to listen and ask questions, but I don't get to vote. So
I can say whatever I want to.
you sure can. Everybody will hear it though. So the area we're talking about is so close to so many people's hearts, right? It's an absolute favorite of mine and as well as a lot of other people. And I think where some of the options are coming from is the concept of public use of the beach and facilitating that. And I don't know that your plan would or would not do a great job of that, but people are really worried about that. And so I think it is a good idea to take some time to have conversations about how that might work. I know public access is through a trail and so forth. As soon as you build a road and have a residential neighborhood that's closer, that will change, guaranteed, right? People will drive on the road and, you'll have, the neighborhood will be impacted by people trying to use the beach, and people's feelings will also be impacted by how that's working or not working. And so I think some overall collaborative conversations about how public use and enjoyment of the beach is going to work post development will help make all of these decisions. And so that's just my comment. I don't know if there's a question there, but just that there's so many hearts on the line for that area.
Thanks, Director Elliott. I appreciate everybody's intent here to get to the right outcome. Obviously, Mr. Rogers, we have questions too. And so we do have Director Gisborne. I see your second go there. Go ahead.
Yeah, my question is now, so if we do postpone it, how much time would you like us to postpone it or postpone to a certain action?
Maybe before we see it here in the corporate officer, I saw your hand.
Yes, thank you. I think once we get to procedures, once we get to that item, we can discuss how we might want to deal with this motion or deal with these two items of business. Yeah, I think that we could postpone or refer so to staff to continue.
Yeah, and when we get there, and I was just wondering, from the delegation, what would the delegation consider to be a fair amount of time to postpone, 6 months, 6 years?
No. If I said 6 months, Jim would be over the chairs. No, just a month, hopefully a month.
Okay.
But
Now-
that depends on how conversations go, right?
Right. I was going to say, Mr. Rogers, we're not going to hold you to, I don't think, hold you to a date now. I think we all understand the intent and that we all want to work together as soon as possible.
Yeah, and that's for us to come in and say, no, we want more time, that's pretty rare. It has to be done in a timely manner, but the outcome has to be right. So to make a quick decision to satisfy this request or that request would be very irresponsible, in that a year or two down the road, we'll be shooting ourselves saying, why the heck did we do that? So we have to make sure that any alterations that are considered now actually will work in a way for the entire project.
Very good. Thank you for your presentation, and we'll get into that soon. Okay, we'll move on, folks. I don't see any correspondence. Reports 8.1. We have a provincial referral for Crown Land License of Occupation. This is in Oakover Inlet, Cood Peninsula, it's called, in Area A. There is a recommendation. Do I have a mover? Director McCormick, seconded by Director Gisborne. Any comments from anybody? I think I'll just add, I'll check my notes here that, you know, it's another good report. It really says it all, that we're really achieving removing debris from the foreshore and from the water, which has been a problem with some of these setups historically, and moving that infrastructure onto land. So page 10 of 20 sort of speaks to the Oakover Coastal Plan, which was hard work from the board at the time, and Chair Brabazon, getting to some agreements around how the oyster leasers especially are using that area, and just making sure that we're in, we're ensuring consultation with Tla'amin, and we've heard a lot about archaeological work happening without checking in with them. So just making sure that we include that, but I'm in full support of the application and our oyster leasers that are working hard in Oakover. Thanks. Anyone else? All right, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thanks. All right, now 8.2. Let me just check my points here. I see Director Brander.
Sure. I'd just like to ask the corporate officer what the best way would be to proceed if we do want to either postpone or table this motion, because that's the motion that I would make.
Corporate officer.
Thank you so much, Chair. I think that the ambiguous timeline, it might be best to refer to staff with direction to bring back items of business once notification is received from the applicant. That way we're not bound to a certain time.
Sounds good. That's the motion I'll make.
Seconded by Director Gisborne. Any discussion on this? I think we've had a good presentation. We understand we're trying to work together, and I appreciate everybody thinking about that. So we'll put it to the vote. All those in favor of referral? That's carried unanimously. Thank you.
Same thing for 8.3.
Yeah, okay. I've got a mover and a seconder, Director Brander and Gisborne. Corporate officer, I would just ask you, this is the same referral process?
Thank
Okay,
you.
a thumbs up. All right, any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, folks. I'm scrolling down fast here. So we're on to new business. 9.1, rescind previously made motion. We have that the committee rescind the following motion made at our planning committee meeting November 6th. Do I have a mover for that? Director Gisborne, seconder. Director Brander, thank you. Discussion, Director Gisborne.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Some might remember that this was a motion that was adopted back in November. I do believe at the time I voted against it, but now we found another way forward by going towards, first and second reading or potential first and second reading of a proposed bylaw that allows accessory dwelling units in the Nootka Street neighborhood. There is going to be, some public engagement in relation to it. We just got an email from our manager of planning services. I don't think we need this report about amending the Nootka Street zoning bylaw because we're already going to get that information based on the other motion that's been passed. And I figure this is something that we can take off of our staff's workload, so that way they can get to work on all the other important business. And also just to let the planning committee know, Area B actually has 3 zoning bylaws: Nootka Street, Traff, and Myrtle Pond. And just to let you know that we passed the motion in relation to Nootka, but I just want everyone to know that Myrtle Pond and Traff are in my sights. So just wait. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Pretty straightforward. We'll put this one to a vote. All those in favor of rescinding? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Boy, we're moving quick now. Question period. Do we have anybody in the gallery that wants to ask question about anything related to what we talked about today? I think I saw Mr. Rogers. Come on up again.
Yeah. 2 questions. So because some of the options that were in the report are not in line or consistent with the OCP, the question is, who would be amending the OCP? Right now, if I have a landowner comes in, Michael, I want to subdivide my land, and the OCP has a land use designation with a minimum lot size, let's say of 2 hectares, and he has a 3-hectare parcel, right? He's going to be required to amend the OCP. Well, now we have the opposite scenario where local government's coming in and saying, hey, we want something that is not consistent with the OCP. Where does that go? Who amends it? Who's responsible for the time? We're talking 6 months to a year for that, and cost. Where does that go?
I'll know we're into an OCP now that's taking time, and I think Ms. Rodden, or actually I see the CAO's hand. Thank you.
Through the chair. Could I ask you where you're getting that information that that's the recommendation?
Well, if cash in lieu is required instead of parkland, the area along Line Creek is depicted as parkland.
No, I get that, but you mentioned something about a recommendation, or that seemed to be.
Well, if this, so
this is an if.
This is an if.
Oh, okay.
So if that choice, if that option is chosen to take cash in lieu instead of park, what's happening with the OCP? Who's responsible for the amendment? Or can that just be ignored?
CAO.
And through the chair, I am going to defer that to Laura Rodden to complete the answer.
Yeah, Ms. Rodden, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Through the chair, I can answer that question. First of all, that's not in the staff report recommendation. For today's meeting, the recommendation is to require the park dedication that's proposed in the sketch plan. However,
an option. It's an option.
If the committee chose cash in lieu option, there would be no requirement to amend the OCP, because it still would be green space. It would not be park, but it still would be green space because the land is subject to a riparian covenant. And there's nothing saying that in the future it might not become a park. So there would be no requirement to amend the OCP. Unless the board wanted to. But there's not a requirement legally to do that.
So I know there's, we're talking some hypotheticals, right? And typically, Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, second question is even more hypothetical. So something like this takes place that diverges drastically from the OCP. Guess what's gonna happen with every other application that comes in now? We're in an area where there's very little zoning, essentially no bylaw. The public has chosen that, and I agree with their choice. Really, the only teeth that local government has is the OCP, and if that gets ignored, what message is that sending to the public? You lost the only teeth you have.
Well,
Well, I'm going to find it hard. If
I guess that's the question in your statement for us.
Yeah.
Do you have any other questions for us?
I'll leave that one for you.
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else in the gallery? I see a few faces back there. Anybody else?
Yes, please. Good afternoon.
Else want to come forward?
I'm Rod Tisdale. I'm with the Powell River Salmon Society. I'm the president.
Hi, Rod.
I just
have a seat so you can see.
Oh, you can't see me.
I know, Rod.
Now you see me. Oh, there we go. Yes, I'm just here to say that Lang Bay is really important for our Salmon Society,
Mm-hmm.
and that we strongly favor the plan that would create the best protection for Lang Bay itself. One of the things we're thinking of doing in the long term is to rehabilitate the bay itself so that there's better survival of the fry that we have that we let go every year.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much what I want to say. So
Totally appreciate that. Well, I was going to try to help you coach that into a question about how the QRD could help you with that, but because we're in question period. But thank you for your statement.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else there? I see a couple others, or Mr. Galinsky.
I'm online, Chair, but I don't have any questions at this time. Thanks for the opportunity.
Great, thank you. All right, moving right along. There's no in-camera session. We are adjourned. Thank you.
$5:50, but I got to hit
Recording stopped.